that's what we need to fight against. So joining me now to discuss is Saurabh Sharma. He's the president of American Moment, an organization dedicated to identifying, educating, and credentialing young conservative personnel. Thanks for being here tonight, Saurabh.
Thank you for having me, Kara.
Great. So we had 4 years of somewhat of a reprieve from the left during President Trump's time in office. However, one of the biggest issues facing the Trump administration those 4 years was that so many people within the party, the rhinos and the establishment types, undermine his more populist-style America First agenda. So how does your organization seek to change the tide, so to speak?
Well, to put it simply, we want to make sure that that never happens again. The problems that President Trump faced when it came to finding America First personnel who were aligned with him, who were competent, loyal, and skilled, those aren't going away. And so whether it's President Trump getting reelected, another conservative president, or anyone else, and this problem is reflected in Congress as well, we need to make sure that we marshal a core of personnel that are capable of implementing this agenda. And so what American Moment is dedicated to doing is finding them wherever they may be in the country, whether they went to college or not, training them up in what they need to know, and then setting them on a path to really make an impact in politics, creating that core of Navy SEALs, or maybe even black ops, if you want to use an analogy with the military, that will come in and have influence and make an impact in places like D.C.
What exactly is this new conservative vision, so to speak, this new populism movement that's spreading, and how does it differ from the establishment, old guard Republican rhinos?
Sure. Well, we put it this way, that the American conservative movement needs to defend strong families, a sovereign nation, and prosperity for all. That's in our mission statement. When I think about the America First agenda, I think it's always important to ask questions about what exactly someone means when they say they support it. In 2015 and 2016, when President Trump first ran, that meant being strong on immigration. It meant a secure border. It also meant limits on legal immigration. It meant restraining our military and ending foreign wars that have gone on longer than many people have been alive. And it meant taking our trading relationships seriously. All three of those issues had been abandoned by the corporate-focused GOP of the last 20, 30, even 40 years. They said that free trade was the only way to go. They said that porous borders are fine. And they said that endless military engagement abroad was essential to keep us safe. I think this America First agenda, this populist nationalist agenda, says no to all of those things and looks forward for a new vision for conservatives.
And that's what we need, because when we had, for example, President Trump in the White House, one thing that was really great is that the media was always responding to him. They were always, you turn on CNN or MSNBC, they were always reacting to something he had said that day. But now, of course, with him out of office, it seems like Republicans have fallen back into the old way of things, of always responding to Democrats and their proposals. And in essence, it seems like as Democrats keep going further left, Republicans have responded by becoming just more moderate versions of Democrats instead of having our own brand. Is that kind of what you're seeing right now, that with your organization and others, that we need to start being the ones who are having these ideas in the first place and putting them out?
I think that's exactly right. I often joke that the strong conservative platform, according to the GOP establishment, is to have the Democratic platform of 2010, maybe 2012, if they're more moderate. And that seems to be the model, is at the very best on cultural policy, the corporate GOP just wants to be a little bit more socially conservative, or maybe a little bit less radical than the Democratic Party. And then on questions of economics or anything else, frankly, they just take what the Democrats say, pare it back a couple of clicks and say, behold, our conservative agenda. Or in certain cases, when it comes to things like infrastructure or supporting American families, they throw up their hands and say that it's socialism in order to propose something substantively conservative along those lines. What you're talking about, Kara, about putting forward a positive conservative agenda has to be exactly our priority. And that means looking at things like the cratering family formation, marriage, and fertility rates in our country, and coming up with ways to ensure that young Americans are able to have families, have kids, and own homes. It means looking at things like our economic policy when it comes to our ability to make things in America and saying, you know, we should be able to do that. And how can we do that when it comes to things like silicon or medicine or anything else that we really are losing our capacity in order to do? And it means looking at those of us, those are the people in the party that would be obstacles to things like this, things like regulating big tech, and telling them that it's frankly time for them to step aside, because they have been an obstacle to us taking active and kinetic action on these issues in the way that we've needed to for a long time.
Because you're very correct here in saying that, for example, many of us on the right, we've complained a lot about the broken families and the effect that's had on our culture, because obviously the family unit, they're on the front lines of this culture war. It's where everything begins. However, it seems like a lot of conservative policies, as you were saying, they say, oh, but anything done to incentivize the family unit, oh, that's just socialism. We can't go there. But let's keep bailing out big businesses, for example, that lobby and donate support and money to a lot of these Republicans, unfortunately. So what would you like to see happen with the family that perhaps could change the tide of a lot of the cultural Marxism that we're currently seeing?
You know, Kara, I just wish that American conservatives treated families as well as they treat big business. I mean, so often you see these corporate GOP types propose tax cut after tax cut, deregulation after deregulation, bailouts, corporate welfare. There's a million different kinds of support for corporations, but there's almost nothing that the GOP has for families. Occasionally they'll mumble about something along the edges about the child tax credit or something similar, but they really don't have anything that affirmatively shows young Americans that actually, if you want to have a family, if you want to have kids, that we are capable of supporting that and are willing to put our money where our mouth is on that. What are some of the things I'd like to see? Well, for one, I'd love to see the GOP and conservatives more broadly to take a serious look at what American colleges are doing to our young people. We have this runaway credentialing system in America where a job that once needed a high school degree now needs a bachelor's degree, will eventually need a master's degree. All that results is money in the pockets of college administrators and a ton of debt on our young people. That makes them put off buying a home, having a family, and having kids. So we should really target that for one. Second, when it comes time for people to actually consider forming families and having kids, I'd love for our tax code and I'd love for our benefits system in America to actually incentivize that, make it so that people are incentivized to get married, that it's beneficial to them financially, and that having kids is easier. Once upon a time in America, you could have a single income household and raise a family of a couple of kids on that pretty easily. That's less and less possible today. And so whether it's looking at policy like what's being done in Hungary and Poland in order to make it easier for people to have big families, or something else entirely, I think that we need to broaden our horizons on policy a lot more than the typical sort of cloistered and claustrophobic agenda that the GOP has pursued for so long.
I just have to say, as you were mentioning with the universities, when I was growing up, for example, the very same people who railed against the universities being so far left, being so radical, were also the ones saying, well, Carrie, you'll never make it in life unless you go and basically sign off 50 grand, 100 grand. Some people get themselves into some severe debt going to these universities. Universities, the very same ones are being taught with professors who hate me and hate people like us, who hate conservatives. So growing up, I thought, on the one hand, you're saying these are bad places in essence, but on the other hand, you want me to go there as a student and give them all of my money. So in fact, I didn't go to university and I don't have a university degree. It's actually something I'm very proud of. I don't have a bachelor's because that was kind of my way to revolt in essence against the system. I have associate's degrees. I went to community college. It was easier for me to pay off. And I feel like that was the way that I could fight back against the system. But unfortunately, I see too many other young conservatives going, well, universities are Marxist and bad. However, let me go and give them all my money and keep giving them this power over me. And so I like this idea of taking away the power from these people who want to run our lives. And as we're talking about with corporations, for example, and institutions, we've been making it somewhat of a given that they lean left. But how did that even come about? Because for many years, it was the Republican Party giving them the tax cuts and the breaks that they wanted, and yet they've gone so far pandering to the left. Why do you think that shift has happened?
Well, I think that conservatives are fundamentally insecure. You mentioned here how conservatives love to rail against these colleges and universities, calling them woke indoctrination camps. But If you're in politics, if you're even tangentially involved with people who are in positions of influence in the Republican Party, you know that they get just as hot and bothered by a Harvard degree as any leftist does, maybe even more so, because they're convinced that in their heart of hearts that that's actually what a sign of quality is. I fundamentally disagree with that. American Moment fundamentally disagrees with that. And frankly, the fewer mainstream liberal credentials you have, the better in my view. I think the reason that we've lost all of the institutions in American life, whether it's the colleges, the foundations, the civil service, the schools, or what have you, is because of the agenda that conservatives have pursued over the last 30 to 40 years. An agenda that was so focused on radical individualism to the detriment of families and communities is very unlikely to attract the sort of people who are willing to be part of institutions, to be part of large organizations, and mold them towards their interests. You can't have a lone ranger that's capable of marching through the institutions like the left does. You need people who are focused and have a long-term vision, and that's just something that the right has lacked for a long time. It's something that American Moment is looking at helping to solve, but a lot of it comes back down to a mindset. You have to be prepared to be part of a community, to be part of a movement, and to be part of organizations in a serious way if you're going to have any influence on them whatsoever.
Saurabh, thank you so much for joining us tonight, because too often we have too many people, including myself, who come up on here and just complain about all the stuff we're seeing in society. But I'm glad that you're actually doing something about it, something to actually make change, positive change. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Kara.